Thank you. The question is that the motion be agreed to, and I call the honourable member for Swan.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise today to support the motion the honourable member for Fadden has put forward in this chamber today. The State of Israel has a strong supporter and a long friend in the member for Fadden and also the member for Eden Monaro, and just listening to both their contributions, it would be great for anyone who wants to know the historical links between Israel and Australia, particularly through the RAF, is a good sounding board listening to those two speeches, and I thank their members for their contributions. And I also would like to advise that the member for Fadden acknowledged the motion moved by the member for Isaacs 10 years ago, and it was heartfelt then 10 years ago as it is now by the member for Fadden. Mr Deputy Speaker, this year will mark the 70th anniversary of the creation of the modern State of Israel and the home for the Jewish people. Since 1948, Israel has flourished and become one of the powerhouses in emerging technology, democracy and prosperity. As the only democracy in the Middle East, the nation of Israel is one steeped with institutions that support the individual and based on the rule of law and equal rights for its people. In an ever-changing world, Deputy Speaker, Israel has shown how a nation can harness this uncertainty and embrace the market and the innate worth of the individual. The modern State of Israel has come as a result from the immense suffering at the hands of the Nazis regime for the Jewish people during the 1930s and 40s. Mr Deputy Speaker, this year also marks the 80th anniversary of the Avian Conference. This conference was convened by President Roosevelt in July 1938 in France to discuss the issue of the plight of Jewish refugees fleeing from persecution at the hands of the Nazi regime in Germany. This conference was a precursor to the creation of the State of Israel after World War II. Unfortunately, our government at the time, during the early stages of the Nazis' persecution, was unaware of the extent of the plight of Jewish people. Deputy Speaker, this is a dark part of our history, and it is one that is remembered at the Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem with the words given by then Minister for Trade and Customs, Lieutenant Colonel White. I will not repeat those words as they are mentioned in the motion put forward by the member for Fadden, but those words show our past. The then Minister for Trade, Colonel T. White, declined to assist, noting Australia was a young nation and wary of giving undue privileges to one particular class of non-British subjects without injustice to others. And the member for Fadden gave a good insight into that particular message that Colonel T. White delivered. Deputy Speaker, these are past indiscretions that this House today has the chance to amend, and one part of our history that should be corrected. Mr Deputy Speaker, on the night of the 9th of November and long into the morning of the 10th of November in 1938, the Nazis torched synagogues, vandalised Jewish homes and businesses and killed nearly 100 Jews. Although Jews had been suppressed by Hitler's policies since 1933, it was the actions of the Nazis on this date that marked a significant turn to violence. It was only after this, the night of the broken glass, that the Australian government rightfully reassessed our policy to help the Jewish people of Germany by admitting 15,000 refugees over 3 years, rather than the quota of 1,800 per year used previously. Deputy Speaker, the Australian government and many other nations around the world failed the Jewish people. We failed to do more to fully protect the Jewish people from persecution. In years to come, an estimated 6 million Jewish people were killed during the Holocaust. This number was exacerbated by the Australian government and other governments around the world for being naive to the extent of the persecution of the Jewish people by the Nazi regime. In this great place, Mr Deputy Speaker, and in our strong democracy, we have the opportunity to right the wrongs of our past. And as the member for Fadden has noted, we can do that by having this House, the House that represents all political parties of Australia and all Australians, issue an apology to the Jewish people for the indifference demonstrated by the Australian Parliament in 1938. If this motion is supported by this House, Deputy Speaker, the parliamentary apology will be presented to Yad Vashem in this significant anniversary year. We will also request to have our apology displayed alongside Lieutenant Colonel White's statement in 1938 that was issued on behalf of the Australian government. Mr Deputy Speaker, war is an atrocity, but the atrocities visited upon the Jewish people by the Nazi regime must be set right, and I support this motion by the member for Fadden. authorised by Steve Irons MP, Liberal Party of Australia, Victoria Park, WA.